Welcome to Organizing Life's Daily Demands. My name is Peter Gordon, and I'm the president of New York Financial Organizers. We're daily money managers. We help people pay their bills, file insurance claims, do budgets. We do all the non investment side of personal finance. And the purpose of this podcast is to introduce to people professionals who help in other aspects of organizing life's daily demands. And today I'm really happy to introduce David Stamberg of Senior Care Authority. Hi, David. How are you today?
I'm doing great, Peter. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure to be here with you. I like to start off by getting a little background on people. So tell us about what
Sure,
you used to do and how you got into what you're doing now.
sure. I love telling the story. I was in wholesale footwear for 35 years, and I made a living from selling shoes to stores. And stores are going away. COVID comes along and really just accelerates a lot of the problems of the industry and gave me pause to try to, figure out a next step. And, at the time, at 57 years old, wasn't necessarily the easiest thing to do. But I was very lucky that I came upon Senior Care Authority, and I remember telling my family what the formula was and how it works and what the job was, if you will. And they all said I'd be perfect at it. And here I am 5 years later and love what I'm doing and love helping people.
That's great. Um, and so, when did this whole thing start? How long have you been helping seniors? Um,
I literally opened up January of 2021. So just finished my 5 year anniversary.
yeah.
I kind of was already helping seniors because I had issues with both parents, but I kind of wish I knew then what I know now.
Right. And I find that many people in the senior service industries get their start because they were working with their family members, often parents. I know that was my case. So tell me about Senior Care Authority.
So, Senior Care Authority has been around since 2009. I am the original owner for Northern and Northern New Jersey and Rockland County. I also operate Central Jersey and the Jersey Shore. We are certified senior advisors, elder care consultants, and our emphasis is on what we call placement assistance. That's where we help families find the best senior living options, assisted livings, memory care, independent living. We find the best senior living options for their aging loved ones. And almost always, we are a no fee service. We have relationships with nearly all the communities in our area. And as long as we're making the introduction of the family to a community, they will pay us a referral fee. But it's very important to know that first, if someone's called communities, we still try to help them no matter what. We never hang up on someone and say, sorry, I can't help you. Um, Also, we just don't give the name and say, hey, community, here's the family. You call, do all the work. And by the way, when they move in, pay us a fee. We schedule the tours, we go on the tours with the families, we become their advocate. Even though we're working for the community, working for the family, we get paid by the community.
Yeah, and I know from personal experience of working with you and others in your industries, you really take care in helping your clients, and it really is about the client first.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, somebody comes to you, how do you determine which senior living options are the best fit for that person?
Well, we have to be well versed in all of the options in our area, from pricing to care capabilities, honestly, to state surveys as well. We have to know what's going on. And we even know the nuances. Someone could ask us about a community, and we might say, look, we know that they've had some changes in management there. Maybe we need to not wait a little bit and see what happens. But when we meet a family, either in person or virtually, we do an intake. We ask about, what's going on with their family member, their loved one, so we can determine potentially what kind of care needs not only do they need today, but perhaps what they might need in the future, especially when cognitive impairment's involved, because 40% of assisted living residents have some form of cognitive impairment. Does not mean they need to be in the memory care neighborhood, but people need to be prepared for that. We take into account people's budgets. We take into account geographic preferences. And we also take into account, what their loved one likes to do. There are communities that we're familiar with that are quiet like a library, and there are others that if you go on St. Patrick's Day, it's no different than what's going on in Fifth Avenue. It just, everyone has different needs, and that's where the beauty of where we come in. We know all these communities, and we take away the different layers to try to get someone focused. They're like 4 or 5 places.
Right. And so the communities differ. There are different stages or different sections. You want to tell us about some of that?
Sure. So we have independent living communities, assisted living communities, and memory care communities. Um, in most cases, the memory cares are part of the assisted living neighborhood of a community, but there are also now popping up some communities that are strictly for memory care. And the beauty of what they offer is, top to bottom staff training for dementia services. At the same time, some of them have different layers because not everybody's at the same stage of the journey. Independent living is exactly as it sounds. You are there kind of for the services. There's a small level of oversight in the community, but you're there for socialization. You're there for meal plans. You're there for making your life easier. And a lot of these independent living communities are part of the others with assisted living, where you can feed in as you age in place. Assisted living is really the main one. Um, it's where you are living in a community, you're socializing, you're getting 3 meals a day, housekeeping, laundry, but at the same time, you're getting services of support. If someone needs help with medication, someone needs help bathing, dressing, transferring, all of the above, that's where assisted living really comes in. You can live in an assisted living independently. I know plenty of people that we've helped that just want that peace of mind for nursing oversight, even though they don't have a care plan in place. And that brings me to another point. The care plans are customized. No two people. Well, I shouldn't say no two people have the same care plan, but you could have two people in the same type of apartment, but one maybe just needs help with medications, and the other needs help with, let's call bathing or wheelchair escorting. They're going to pay a lot more than the person that just needs help with meds. But it's also important to know that the care plans are fluid. What a care plan is today could be lesser or more down the road.
Yeah. So, what happens if somebody is in independent living and then all of a sudden their needs increase? How is that handled?
The best thing about the communities that are independent living, as I said earlier, there's still a small level of oversight. So either the family is going to notice changes, but more than likely the community is going to notice changes. Could be the cleaning staff, could be the dining staff, could be the executive director, could be the sales team. And no moves in any neighborhood happen without conversations with the family, but they would probably pick up the phone and call that loved one's, family and say, "We've noticed some changes. Maybe you can come in. Maybe we could talk about a transition to our assisted living neighborhood." However, people in independent living can also hire their own private caregivers.
Right.
So if they really are adamant about staying in the independent living apartment, and that does happen, independent living apartments, although not used often, have full kitchens. And there are definitely people that want that full kitchen, even though they'll never touch it, but they can be in an independent living apartment and still have a caregiver come in.
Yeah. An important thing from our point of view to remember is that very often, well, certainly assisted living are those expenses are 100% deductible from on tax purposes, and very sometimes, depending on the situation, independent living can be, and certainly memory care. Can you talk a little bit more about memory care? I don't know. I obviously I know what it means, but I think that that's a term that people aren't familiar with.
Sure. So, with Peter, when we were younger, I hate to say it this way, but when we were younger, people said, "Oh, that person went to the crazy house." We didn't know what dementia was. When we were younger, not that these problems have gone away, but when we were younger, it was heart disease, it was cancer. When we were younger, people smoked a lot. So those things have changed, and people still have heart disease, still have cancer, but dementia has become the unknown. Um, because there is no cure. And we know that there are declines. We just don't know when the next one's going to come or how severe they may be. And memory care neighborhoods are designed for people that are on that journey. They are secure to prevent wandering. I have someone whose mom wanted to hop on the Amazon truck and go visit their brother in Albany, and they really need to be in a secure neighborhood. Um, Also, in memory care neighborhoods, the residents don't really get a pendant like they do in assisted living, because unfortunately, those residents in memory care wouldn't know. Sorry.
What do you mean a pendant?
Like a life alert pendant. So you go into an assisted living. Sorry, I should have explained that.
Okay.
Everyone gets a pendant. There's pull cords in apartments. So if there's an emergency, and believe it or not, people hit those buttons when they can't find the remote control. And to some people, that's an emergency. But that's why they're there, for assistance. In the care neighborhoods, they don't even give the residents that, because most residents don't know what they're for. They don't remember to use them. And certainly people go into those neighborhoods when they need more supervision. While there's no perfect science in New Jersey for staff to resident ratio, there's far greater staff to resident ratio in memory care neighborhoods, than there are in regular assisted living. As I said earlier, 40% of regular assisted living residents have some form of cognitive impairment. But if they don't go move to the other neighborhood unless there's a safety risk.
Yeah, from my experience working with clients who are in memory care, um, it's a very high touch service. They're the people working there are very much in the know about just where every client is, and what their situation is at any time.
Right.
Um, and so, what about the costs for your services?
So our costs almost always are no fee. We are free to help a family. We do technically need to be the first one contacting a community on a family's behalf. But as I said earlier, if someone's called communities, we still will do what we can to help them. There have been times, very few, but there have been times when I've been engaged as a consultant. A family, as an example, has been to multiple places, far more than I would have brought them to,
Right.
but we help sort them through that. And, they'll engage us for an hour or two to help them sort through the different options. But for the most part, as long as we're the one making that initial contact to a community, we are getting paid by the community if they move in, and we're the family's gatekeeper.
Yeah, and it's very easy to get overwhelmed with all that information.
Absolutely.
People don't realize it, and it's important to call you or your colleagues first before calling. I think before calling a neighborhood or community, just so you get the lay of the land. That being said, what if somebody comes to you and they can't really afford the you know um, senior living?
Right. So in New Jersey, and as I said earlier, I also cover Rockland County, but in New Jersey, the Medicaid um, regulations for assisted living are much different than many other states, including New York. New York does have what we call assisted living programs, ALPS, people refer to,
Yeah,
and they'll take Medicaid, but there's limits to how far they can go. In New Jersey, since 2001, any assisted living built, which are most of them, they're required to have 10% of their population for on Medicaid. However, they are allowed to say, if you want to be eligible for one of those spots, that you have to pay your own way for 2 years. So if someone can come up with 2 years, now I do want to say there's no guarantees, things can change. But essentially, in theory, if someone can private pay for at least 2 years, they can stay on Medicaid. They still have to apply with the state. They have to be financially eligible, and they have to be clinically eligible to get Medicaid. But that is a way that we help people in New Jersey. If someone comes to me and they do not have the ability to private pay for 2 years, depending upon what their needs are, we usually refer them to a nursing home at that point, because there's more Medicaid options. But we also get people that call us that don't have the financial ability to pay, nor do they have the clinical need for Medicaid. So we try to have resources at our fingertips, whether it's the social service departments of the various counties or knowing where there are some, let's call them low income housing that we can refer them to.
Yeah, from my experience working with you and others in your industry, it's not, and you really do put the client first. And if there's
Absolutely.
not an opportunity to place somebody, you really go out of your way to do what's right for them as much as you can. And I think that's fact. That's fantastic. Um, on the lastly, so what are common mistakes families make when choosing a senior living community?
Um, well, there's a lot that I've seen in 5 years, from denial of what their loved one's needs could potentially be. Perhaps, taking their 2 year spend money that I was referring to and going to the wrong place
Right.
and thinking they're going to be on Medicaid, but the care needs are beyond what that community can do. And then they have to go to a new community and start all over. Um, there's other things that I've seen that you probably have seen more where someone's mom or dad is, going to move in and they're going to talk about needing to be on Medicaid. And you find out that they had a private caregiver at home that they were paying in cash. I've seen that. Um, I've seen people waiting until the last minute to make a decision. One of the phrases that we use is "It's not a crisis until it is." We
Right.
try to encourage people that they're better off making the decision when they're not in a crisis mode. But the other mistake that I see people make, Peter, is that someone will go online or make a phone call and put their personal information in, and then their phone just rings off the hook. And like I said earlier today, in this podcast, we like to be the gatekeeper. If you go through us or someone like us, then you're not getting all those phone calls.
Yeah, that particular part of the industry is very predatory, and
Yes,
I've
yes.
I've experienced that with people who've come to me. I often recommend uh, your services when I know somebody's in New Jersey, or
Mhm.
other services that most of my businesses in the state of New York. I think the work you do is phenomenal. Is
Thank
really
you.
great.
If
And
if I can throw one other thing out there, Peter,
please,
um, myself, my team, everyone from Senior Care Authority are members of the National Placement and Referral Alliance. And while there is, call it, we'd like to look at some legislation to protect the consumer. Um, Most importantly, right now, we have to live up to a code of ethics, which number one is family first, and we have to live up to a standards of best practices. And number one for that is we go with the families, we tour with the families, we figuratively, actually, literally, sometimes hold the family's hand
yeah,
because
I'm
it's
sure.
stressful, it's nerve-wracking, on any of those things you could think of, people start going off on tangents about finances, about care needs, and if without us, they get really it can be very distressing.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody on a Zoom call recently, totally unrelated to this, but she had a little sign in the background that said, "We're all in this together," and I really love that. And that really, it's important. It's important for people to reach out to other experts because that will help them put everything in perspective, and asking for help and having someone else be in this together with you really makes a huge difference. And it's hard in our society because things are so decentralized.
I
So
What I love about this business, Peter, is helping people, but everybody I work with wants to help. And
yeah,
that's the first thought. How can we help? And
couldn't agree more.
yeah, it's rewarding. I mean, yes, I make a living, but it's very rewarding to help people, and we just want to make sure that they know if they call us, we're going to at the very least point them in the right direction.
I say the same exact thing all the time. I say, I love this because I'm helping people. Yeah, it's great to make a living, but it's my why. I think it's
Yeah,
most of the
yes,
people's in this business. It's their why because they want to help people, and then get paid a fair amount for that. Anyway,
yes.
Dave, this was fantastic. I really appreciate it. If you tell people, all the information will be online, but tell people the best way to get in touch with you.
Sure. My email is davids@seniorcareauthority.com. Our main number is 201-564-7997, 201-564-7997. And if you call that number, you have options of which county in our area that you need support in. And because we have representation in all of the counties. We also offer a program called Beyond Driving with Dignity. That's where I help a senior decide if they should retire from driving, and you can call that number as well for information on that.
Yeah. And I could say with certainty, you call that number, you will get a call back very quickly and get fantastic information.
Yes, we
Thanks,
are
David.
very quick to help people.
Yeah. Thank you very much. This was a great session.
Thank you for having me, Peter.
My pleasure. And I'll see everybody at the next podcast/video.